This video will describe the configuration variables related to the template library. Here we see the two variables. The first one, civil roadway template library, defines the template library that is attached at the beginning of each new ORD session. The second one, civil roadway template library save as, defines the starting folder when you choose File, Save As from the Create Template dialog. To describe how these variables work, I'm in OpenRose Designer. I'm using the Civil Imperial workspace that gets delivered with OpenRose Designer. If I go to the OpenRose Modeling Workflow on the Corridors tab and click on the Create Template icon, it opens a template library. This is the library that's defined in that first variable, Civil Roadway Template Library. Now, often this library is going to be read-only. It might be on a server somewhere located so the end user can't reach it. These will often get locked down. So it's common to have a project-specific ITL for each project. To do that, the user might go File, Save As. And notice that when I choose File, Save As, it starts me in the workset standards template library folder. That is defined using the civil roadway template library save as variable. So that's how it knows where to start out to save me some clicks. If I came here and I saved this as the workset for name, for example, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is just an example workset I've created here. It will go ahead and create a template library in that folder. And it sets that as the active template library. So as long as I'm in this session, every time I use a template for a linear template or a surface template or a corridor template, it's going to refer back to this template library. Now when I close and reopen the template library, it's going to go back to that default variable of the server, unless I configure it to conditionally look for a workset. So that's the next step in this. If we look at the configuration files delivered with the Imperial workspace, the civil organization configuration file has the variable defining where that default template library is. So that's civil roadway template library. It tells it to go to that civil organization standards, which is the civil Imperial folder. Then look under a template library folder there, and then load the OpenRoads templates imperial.itl. So that's the default location. Now, when I opened ORD, I chose a workspace and a workset. So that workset configuration, if I back up to configuration and I go to the workspace and I go to the Imperial Standards worksets, here's that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 workset that I created. And if I look at that configuration file, it is defining a couple of variables as well. So it's saying civil roadway template library save as is pointing to that template library folder. So this is how, when I chose File Save As from the Create Template dialog, it knew to start in that folder. And then below there, it says, well, if a template library exists in that folder, and if that template library is set to a given name, so in this default workset CFG, if I were to come in here and set that template library name to whatever I named it, which in this case was the workset name, so I could either use my $ workset name variable, or I could just type in the workset name .itl, save this. So now when I close and reopen, it will first try to read the organization civil. It'll set that variable once, and then it's going to read in this configuration file, and if it sees this ITL defined in this folder, then it will set this variable again to use the default workset ITL. So using a combination of configuration files, if I were to close now and reopen, it's going to default to my workset ITL rather than the read-only ITL that's on the server location. So just a couple of things to consider: the two variables and how you might apply those to save from having to reopen the template library each time you start OpenRoads Designer. This completes the video on template library configuration variables.